Multiple means of expression recognizes that students have different learning styles and therefore can produce material and proof of their learning in a variety of different ways, whether it's through visual posters, through presentations, through role-playing, or through your standard assignment, written assignment, as well as reflective papers that draws from their personal experiences and brings it back into the classroom.
Well, when I think of multiple means of expression, I have some really good examples that have been told to me by students of mine over the years. We've had students who've had dyslexia, so a type of learning disability, for whom reading vast amounts of material is very difficult. And even if we put the material in alternate format, which we do in our center, it's still very difficult to go through, the amount of material that's needed to study at university. So one student in particular was taking a heavy course load, a history course load with a lot of reading. So she asked her professor if she could review a movie and do an oral presentation on a movie based on a historical event, rather than reading a book, which was the assignment, was to read a book, and she asked if she could watch the movie instead, and the professor was agreeable to that, and that really reflects good universal design, because it shows flexibility and it plays on her strengths, which happened to be her verbal strengths, and allowed her to be creative in her approach to demonstrating that knowledge.
In our curriculum, in our syllabus, we had many different ways that the students could show us that they had learned what we were trying to teach them, whether they mastered the concepts. So for example, we had presentations where they would research an issue and they would have to give a short presentation back to us. And we also had response journals, which were very informal and very low pressure, and that they could write back to us once a week about what they had learned that day, and it was a good way for them to get the marks. We also had portfolio assessments at the end, where they had to bring in a number of materials to show us what they learned.
Universal approaches to learning and how it relates to experience and action also ensures that the students can, instead of doing just a PowerPoint presentation, which is, I shouldn't say just a PowerPoint presentation, but we always fall back on PowerPoint presentations, they may choose to run a debate in the class or do some role-playing and getting the students engaged as well, which I know leads to the third principle of universal design and learning.